Hello. This week's a bit of a strange one, really. As you can see, if I just pan around, I've got a variety of boxes, and drawers, and more boxes, and then plastic containers. All of it full of things that I've put to one side, thinking I can use that in a scratch build. I can make something with that. I can use it for a base, whatever. I'm not going to drag you along for the whole journey, but I just thought it might be useful to see some of the things that I pull together, some of the things that you're bound to have that are worth keeping and, not throwing away. Because it's surprising, really, what you can scratch build from what essentially is just waste products. But what I'll do is I'll just capture little bits here and there and explain to you why I've kept it and what I'm doing with it, and why it's worth starting your own collection of bits and bobs for, like I say, for making rubble or war damaged furniture or buildings, or even scratch building, a complete building from some of the elements that you get as a waste product. Right, well, give me a few minutes and I'll bring you back and show you some of the first things that I'm sorting. This is just a job that basically I've needed to do for a long time. I've partly done it, but I realised I was starting to spread out into all kinds of boxes, and then when it come to finding something specific, I couldn't find it, so I'd just get round it another way. And I don't want to do that. If I'm going to keep this stuff, I want it to be at hand so I can use it as and when I want it and know exactly where to put my hand on it. So that's what I'm going to be doing this week. And I just thought I'd bring you along on some of the journey, because you might find it useful for your own, building. Right, I'll see you in a minute. Recycling my leftovers from Sarissa kits includes the cardboard that the blinds and doors come in. And then what I do is I trim the sprues up to useful shapes or sizes. I mean, here you can see that there's some interesting shapes there that might come in handy. And then what I've tried to do is put bits of similar size together, so they're all sorted. Right, so I've spent about an hour and a bit going through this. And it's not wasted time, because the amount of things I'm coming across that I've put aside and then forgot that I've actually got, it's been so useful. But I just wanted to take you through some of the things that I've got together in this last hour. So in this little case, you've probably seen it before. I'm probably going to lay it out a bit different, but just because I wanted to sort things out together, I've got things like this. Now these are like the inner rolls of dog poo bags, and every time I've come to the end of a roll when I'm taking the dogs a walk, I've thought, I can't throw that away, it's got to come in handy for something. So they're gathering in there. I've got this kind of stuff. I think you've seen me use it before. It's from a cake box or a biscuit box, and because it looks like corrugated iron, I've kept it. Same with this paper. Once it's been painted and whatever, if you've got it in small pieces, it's very effective as corrugated iron, and it soon stiffens up. And then other bits that I keep is, like the plastic boxes that soldiers come in. I'll cut any large square areas or rectangular areas. I've got some other smaller bits in here. I've actually got a lot less of this now than I used to have, because I've used so much. But it's surprising how this kind of stuff comes in handy. I mean, you can use it for windows. You can use it on vehicles even as windows. I have done in the past. And then the other thing that I've kept this blister stuff for is anything that's like too odd a shape to use. I've put in my little coffee grinder and ground it down into shards of glass to put in bomb damaged buildings. So I always hang on to that kind of stuff. Barely worth showing you these little bits, but there's a couple of bits here that came off a phone, a broken phone, and it just appealed to me. I thought, surely I can use that in bolt action somehow. I think this must be its camera, actually. So I've kept it. These, I've not found a use for them as yet, but I'm sure I will at some point. And then what I've done is, you know, the sign writing board, any small offcuts or bits that I've not used, whatever the shape, they're bound to come in handy at some point. You know, whether I'm building with them or whether I'm using it as a base and I've shaved the edges. So I've got lots of little offcuts of that in here of different sizes. Similarly, I've got this plastic card. Again, it's bits that have been left over, and they're too good to throw away. They're bound to come in handy for something. So I always keep that kind of thing. And then these are just something I've come across when I've bought a job lot and there was some plastic fences. I mean, they're railway, you know, 00 scale really. But there may be a way that I can utilise bits of this. In fact, I have done on some of my farm buildings. Why I've kept that? Well, it's just potentially a base. It's only cardboard, and a cork base. Not quite sure what I'm going to do with that yet, but it just screams, I am useful, do not throw me away. So that's ended up in here. So I'll be building this bit up over time and sorting out what I really want in there. I'm just using the containers I've got at the minute. This is what the majority of my time's been spent on, but you'll see how useful it can be. I've been cutting down bits that are left over on sprues, and look, I've got all these long rectangular pieces, and they're just, you know, edges of boards that I've pressed buildings out of in the past. I mean, some of these go back way back, but I've been tidying them up in this last hour, and any that I thought, you know, don't need to keep that, I've thrown away. But these, I mean, basically there's a base for an edge, isn't it? You know, why would you throw them away? You don't want to buy a board just to make bases for edges and fences. So all of them of a similar size. That's what I've got in that first box. That there. This one, granted this one's a bit weirder. I'll tip it out for you and you'll see what I mean. It just seemed a useful shape. I might use that in something. It could be, I don't know, a platform. It could be a window, a reinforcement bar on something. Same with these. These are the bits, obviously, you can imagine things have pressed out of these and I've just cut round the edges. But I've kept these ones with the little things out because that way I might be able to connect things with it. So I've put them in there. If I wanted to build a roof, it's good to have a triangular point that you can stick the two bits to. So I might use that for that. Same with these littler ones. To be honest, that's going out the realm of bolt action, but that said to me, you know, like a science fiction door, you know, like a mechanical door of something if it was painted up. So I've kept that. Another weird little shape, but I can't even think off the top of my head what I'd use it for, but it does suggest it's got plenty of uses, so. Well, there's a frame to a building straight away, or you could put it inside a building as a ledge to sit the floor on. So I've kept that as is. I mean, obviously I've had to trim off the bits it was connected to get that shape, but it's worth keeping. More triangles. Again, maybe a fantasy model or something I could use that on, just as a shape, or something, you know, mechanical or whatever. These little shapes from a sprue where something was in there that I used. I don't know whether it was from that windmill that I built that time, but I mean, you couldn't make them if you wanted to. And, you know, so I've kept them because they look like useful, interesting things. I'm not saying I've got a use for them at the minute, but if I spend a few minutes thinking about it, it will start suggesting something to me. So I've kept them. Very similar type ones. Again, I've cut it off of a sprue, so these look disembodied, so you can't tell what they were from. But it's like a little turret, that one. Same with this one, but a bit wider. You know, I could perhaps use that on top of a building, or, you know, some kind of decorative item on a building. These just speak for themselves. Crucifix for a church, or maybe a gravestone. Little one there. Little round circle, don't know, but it could come in handy. Again, it's not a shape you could easily make. More of the turrets. I mean, that one's virtually a door already without much imagination. That could be support to a roof, but it could also be a window. So I've kept that. These are just corner pieces off one, and I've kept them because I've obviously thought about using them as roof braces. You know, if I scratch build anything. So they're in there. More of the turret type things. I think that was from a building that I built, and there was an alternate sign, and so I just kept this. So I've thrown that in there. More triangles, more door shapes. That one. I mean, obviously I know it says ladder, but it's far too big for anything like that in our world, but I could use it in a variety of uses. You know, I could cut it down into smaller pieces and use it as panels. I could use one as an open doorway and cover the others up. There's all manner of things, so I've left that as it is because obviously it's a shape that you can't rebuild. So that's that one. This one, I mean, these ain't so much sprues. They're obviously bases that I've had or gathered over time, or some of the little ones are perhaps press outs from things, and then some that I even got at a local works, all different sizes. Obviously, the obvious use for some of these, like them ones, would be trees, or little bits of scattered terrain, figures, animals, whatever. So I put all them together. these, I'm not going to go through every one because essentially what they are is just useful squares and rectangles. You know, again, I could use them as buildings. I could use them to mount things on, so they could be bases. I could use them to construct walls. Any number of things really. But they're all useful, different shapes and sizes. So again, some of these weren't necessarily straight, and I have just cut off a piece to make it square, you know, from the scrap bits. But they're all from, you know, wooden sprues that I've sat and just cut up. It just gives me a wide selection of, you know, MDF pieces that I can use. Here, similar to that last box, there's a couple of bits that were a road system, I think, but I've kept them potentially as a base or as a wall, you know, if I'm building something. Some more offcuts from different wooden sprues. Same here. I've obviously started making that one into a base at some point. But they're all, I mean, they're all different shapes and sizes, but, you know, it's a shame to waste it. So, I mean, this is probably the most methodical I've been about this, because I've just let this pile up. And sorting it out like this is going to make it a lot more useful to me, and I'm far more likely to use it now because I can see what I've got at a glance. This one is straights of different lengths, different widths. Again, you could use them as a base if you wanted to. I could use them as part of a construction thing, you know, for building something else. I've got these thinner bits. Well, I mean, you can see just putting them two together, and then some shorter bits, how easy would it be to make a fence with that? And all these are, you know, like thin edges that have gone round something that's pressed out. Some are thicker than others. I mean, you couldn't use some of these thicker ones for fences, but you can see how easy they would be to convert into a fence. And they're literally, you know, from the things where I've already had the building out of it, so this is just an extra use. I mean, you know, I've trimmed some of these to shape, you know, so that they've not got any other waste bits going off of them. So they're kind of part prepared for a potential idea. As I say, you've got these thicker ones as well. But they're all that kind of shape, you know, so I've gathered them all together. So that's that one. Alright, and then before I move off, I've got these bigger pieces. So these are very edges of a sprue look, but I haven't cut them. I mean, I could have cut them down to put them in there, but why would you? They're already long. I mean, there's a full length fence. Just there, look. Or whatever else you wanted to make with it. So I've kept them the size they are because that may give it another potential use for me. These, they're going to be bases, obviously. They're just edge pieces. Some of these I did cut down from bits of leftover board. And the idea was I was trying to get them all to a base shape. So that's why these all look the same. I've got some smaller ones here. And then these ones, I've not completely tidied these up. I've left them as they are for now because I can decide how I want to use them before I start cutting them about. But I mean, there's good basing material there straight away. And then these ones are some of the bigger bits of leftover, you know, from boards or jobs that I've done in the past. So I've put all them together. Let's put that back over there. Right, this lot, quite sure where I'm going to store this yet, but I think you've seen me use this before. Remember I bought a job lot from a model shop. I mean it was pence basically, because all it is little bits and bobs. There's nothing complete. You've seen me use this on, you know, farm buildings and things like that. But it's just too good to throw away. I mean, they're obviously meant to be back to back, and then you've got like a stone wall. I'm not sure that I'd particularly use it like that, but I've kept it for that reason. And there's lots of little offcuts. And then I've also got some of these bits of buildings that they were part of an add-on thing for that Outlander kit that I had. I've not as yet found a use for this, but I'm sure I will. So I'm going to keep all of this kit type bits that are left over in another box. These weren't really took from any sprues or anything else. They were like little wooden letters and numbers out of MDF. And the funny thing, I'm glad I've come across these, because funnily enough somebody commented on some pictures that I put online where I'd put the date on the front of a building, and he said, why didn't you use you know, like 3D letters for that rather than, you know, like painting it on? And I thought, you know, you're right. And then I thought, I've got something like that, but obviously it's just been buried. I mean, you know, it was in a box. All of this was in a box like this, all in one big pile. So I was never going to find them again, was I? So, but now I've got them all together. In fact, they could probably go in that plastic kit box. And then the final one to show you that, well, not quite the final one, is this one. Now, you see these tiny pieces? These are like the things where you press out the lugs when you're building the buildings. Well, I've kept all of them. I'll bring them right close and you'll see. These, where you've pressed out a lug, you know, where two pieces connect, they're ideal for making legs. And with the squares that have been pushed out of things, I mean, if I just put that on the corner there, look, a little bit of glue and a few of these, and you've got a wooden chair. It's very easy to put together out of these little bits. And I've used things like this in the past to make, you know, chests of drawers and little units or chairs or tables and put legs on them and things out of all these little bits that you press out of kits. And you've got some slightly longer ones here, which I can use for something else, or I can use it to make more of the legs for the chairs and things like that. These ones are from a bamboo stick that I'd chopped down. A few triangular bits, I'm not quite sure what I'd use them for. And then these were like plastic lolly sticks, and I kept them and trimmed them down. Now I did use these to build a fence at one point, and I've used them as well to build some barrels and things on a broken down tank. So I've put them together in there. And then the final thing that I've sorted out this morning is this stuff. Now on the face of it, it just looks boring bits of card, but what it is, it's from the Sarissa kits. You know, there's always something that you've got to press out. In fact, you can see a number. You can tell it's Sarissa, look, with its number on. These are the bits that have been pressed out when you getting a doorway out, or at the edge of the sprue that you're pressing windows and doors out of. But it's exactly the same material that they use for all of their cardboard fittings, like doors, window frames, roof tiles. So, I mean, it'd be very easy to see that, like, if I grab that piece, look, I could cut that down into little roof tiles, and then I've got some separate ones to put in dropped, you know, burnt out, bombed out buildings. So, along with the rest of the debris, I could paint these up in the same colour as the roof, trim them to little squares, and there'd be roof tiles in among the debris that fell down from the shattered roof. And because it's that same material that's used in a lot of their things, it's too good to throw away. I mean, you've got bigger bits here. If I needed to cut myself a new door for something, or replace a door, or if I wanted to, you know, put this on the back of a door that I've already got to actually make it that bit stiffer and firmer, this type of material's, you know, it's ideal to keep. So I've basically got all this sorted out, like I say, just over an hour this morning, and I can't, you know, I can't recommend it highly enough to do. If, you know, if any of you are building stuff out there, you've got all this material yourselves, and it's too good to throw away. And, you know, it just opens up a whole new area of, you know, of crafting to you. So I'd definitely recommend doing it. But anyway, I'm gonna sort this out, and I'll bring you back when I've got it all organised and show you what I've done and how I'm gonna, you know, how I'm gonna set it out so it's there for me to use. Going through all these boxes, I've been finding stuff at the bottom of them, like this, you know, the plastic wrap that goes around parcels. And what I've done is I've cut it into lengths. And the reason why I've kept that is, if you look at the pattern on it, it looks like a wire fence. So you could paint it black and then highlight it with a gunmetal colour. And then I found the bottom of obviously a cake box or something that I thought I could put in there. And some more of my plastic window material. So I can put all that in that kit. And then I found some electrical bits as well at the bottom of one of the boxes. So I'm going to store that in there now as well. And here it is. And you can see it's filling up nicely. I mean, obviously, what I can do now is I can carry on adding to this over time. And that's my little terrain building hobby box complete. So then what I've done is I've used this push-along trolley with drawers to keep all my wooden items together, which I can show you now. So, after a couple of hours sorting out, I'm really pleased with what I've achieved this morning. And it's just worthwhile taking the time to do this. This that you can see here is now my wood trolley. And of course, that is Peggy walking by. Anyway, the wood trolley. I've basically finally got all of my stuff that I can never find when I'm looking for it, all in one place. So what I've got in this top bit of the trolley, you've got tongue depressors, ordinary lollipop sticks, cocktail sticks, matchsticks, some wood plugs there that I have used for columns in the past, some wooden candy sticks, and then these skewer ones, which also come in handy sometimes. So they're all in the top sorted out. Then, let me just open this. All of the bits that you saw me sorting out earlier on, all the bits of MDF are all in their own individual boxes, all in that drawer. Bit difficult one I made, I'm sorry about that. The next drawer down is all the bigger pieces that are suitable for bases or building. And then the bottom drawer, I've actually found all of my balsa wood now. So that's all there. And then those bits that I've come across, you know, that I've picked up, you know, in kind of collection boxes in model shops, you know, bits that they're trying to get rid of. And some bits of building that never got used. So basically, having done this, not only have I cleared some space for something else to be sorted, but I've got all of my sprues cut down that have been kicking around in boxes, that have been building up, you know, all the leftover bits from Sarissa kits. And I've condensed it all down now into a usable wood supply. So that's storing it all together. And the fact that it's on wheels, I can just pull it up to my desk when I need it. I mean, you've seen this before. I've used it for multiple of things, but I think this is probably the most successful and most organised it's ever been. But I can highly recommend, you know, recycling all these bits because it's well worth it. I mean, just in completing this job, I've just come across another whole load of small plastic bits that I can add to my little terrain toolbox. Anyway, I hope you found this interesting and it's given you ideas for how you can recycle things. I've got to be honest, for me, I've got such a sense of achievement out of this. And not only that, it's fired my imagination for all the things I can now build. And I know where I can lay my hands on everything. Anyway, I'll wrap this one up. I hope you found something useful in it. If you have, please consider giving me a thumbs up. Or even subscribing for when my next video drops. And as I always say, you know, if there's any comments you want to make or questions you want to ask, just drop them below. I always answer. Anyway, I'll leave you for now and I'll see you again soon. Bye.